can do fine early, but mid-game, it's where it just cracks, and then Satorius can't do anything.
Well, as you said, we may see something switched up this time around. Like to see if Origen find a different pattern, a different way to win, or a way to win. At the very least, it would be a mountain to climb over G2 Esports. But we're in picks and bans. We're seeing some of the same bands, but on different sides. Camille on blue.
Well, because G2 doesn't want Origen to leave it open and force G2 to first pick it, so Origen can get like Varus and Ivern on their first rotation. That's why Origen is on this red side. So it's actually a smart adaptation by G2 to remove Camille and then take Varus, because Varus has been like the #1 AD carry in Europe, and it's the #1 AD carry for Tabzz. So it was very
100%
clear that Origen had the chance to leave Camille open, force G2 to first pick it, and then get some very important picks. The reason Graves is in here now is because he's a pick that is used against Ivern specifically. So when you lock him in early, you try and block the Ivern pick and then see if you can actually kind of hit 2 picks at once, because you take one and you block another one.
Yeah, it also is something that Trick was using to great effect way back in the day, as well as recently that it's come back into the meta. So it's a double whammy to take away. And instead of picking the Ivern, it looks like they're contemplating the Rek'Sai, or maybe they'll just pick it into it. A few seconds to tick down, and they don't need to pick it just yet, so it's the Ryze locked in now.
One of the very standard blind picks in mid is the Ryze. We used to see a lot of Syndra early on in the split, but she is still, like, she's still up there, but she's fallen a little bit out of favor in terms of early rotations. Corki, Ryze have kind of become the 2 most common blind pick mids here in Europe. So no real big surprise, and Ryze just offers you everything. Like, he can lane against everything. He is good scaling, he can split push, he can team fight. He has an ulti he can use to move around the map faster. There's just too many ways that Ryze can actually be useful.
Yeah, and you add that to Tahm Kench, you have a pretty big front line already available to you. Protecting the Varus, although Zven generally, positioning-wise, doesn't always need that protection. It's answered by the Shen on the other side. We enter ban phase 2, and they take away the GP. What else do you target if you're G2 Esports here?
If you're G2 right now, support is not being picked on Origen, so you can start banning those. That's what they're doing with the Karma. They already banned 2 supports before. Origen might just ban Rumble here, or Poppy. We see both actually being banned against Shen fairly often. It is the Rumble in this situation here. Smart choice. This is why, obviously, the last pick, the Shen. Sadly, I feel like it rarely has a big enough impact to take the Shen as the last pick on red side and then ban 2 like counter top laners against it, because worst case, you just go Maokai. And you're like, all right, I'm okay giving you that second global advantage, but I will outscale you and be twice as good in team fights. So it's rare that you're like, oh damn, they got Shen. We just have nothing we can pick against the top lane. Because there's also Trundle if you really want to go for like a counter.
Yeah, that's another point too, and they'll see if G2 actually go for that. They have enough tankiness, but Origen, it's going to be their move right now. Will they lock the Talia for NaeHyun? Be a lot of globals available to them. Maybe that's an in, and they're going to lock it.
All right. I mean, I like global comps. I think Talia is very strong. I think she's very good with coordinated teams. I don't think Origen is a coordinated team, so that might be an issue. But if you just look at the pick and ban in itself, I think it makes a lot of sense what they're trying to build. I want to see a support who can be lane dominant, because they need to be able to put pressure on the G2 Esports bottom lane so they can actually set up these roams with Talia, set up these Shen ultis properly. And look at that, Pyra. It's Maokai.
All right, so we are in for a fun top lane matchup, but I want to go back to your point. Who do you pick as a support here for Origen? Who is that high-pressure, high-laning champion out of what's left?
It is tough because Karma is gone, Zyra. Nami is available, can still give you a lot of lane control. MF is normally only picked against Zyra Malzahar. But you are against a tank support in Tahm Kench, so you don't actually need a range support to necessarily have some pressure in the lane. Bard is also available. I'm glad I actually just got to say that before you hovered it. It is a pick we see against some of these tank supports, because you will do fine in lane and then you try and be this annoying support who can try and create picks around the map. Brand support is something I see in solo queue a lot. We want to see tanks normally from Hiiva. Keep that in mind, in case he locks
he's going to lock the Braum.
All right.
Okay, and this is kind of more in Hiiva's wheelhouse, too, because it's something that he played the Alistar style of champions like all the way through his Challenger days, and he liked to make those big plays, and he's able to do that a little easier on these tanks.
He likes to be in the front line.
Yeah.
You can't be in the front line on Zyra, because then you die.
Which we saw several times from
Which
Hiiva.
we have seen a lot of, but you can definitely be in the front line as Braum, and also against things like Varus. You can block a bit of the poke just before the fight starts. You can can actually also block Varus from wave clearing if you are sieging up on a turret, but only once, sadly, for Braum. But it makes sense, again. They were drafting a CC support with Taliyah and Jhin. In many ways, Origen are yelling, we want to kill Mithy and Zven. H2K did it. They killed them 2v2. Origen's not going to kill them 2v2, but they have Taliyah ulti, they have Jhin ulti, they have a jungler who can roam down. There might be a party in the bot lane here.
There might indeed. Keep an eye on that one for sure. G2 certainly will be, but Zven and Mithy have proven pretty tough customers to face off against, even for well-coordinated opponents. And as you stated, Origen, we have yet to see that from them, but maybe this is the time for it to change. It would be a hell of a statement for them to get off to a starting lead against the top team.
If you gotta do it, Pyro, you might as well do it right.
Do it in style, why not? Yeah,
come at the king. Just come at the king.
Well, Origen, I mean, they don't have too much to lose for sure. Very few people would expect them to be winning this game, winning this match, let alone. But we'll see if they're able to do it. If you think Origen has a fighting chance, get on Twitter. Hop on that platform, at LOL eSports, hashtag OGWin. But G2, heavy favorites in this matchup. And we'll see what they're able to bring to the Rift as we load up for game one.
Yeah, so far, Origen is not out of the race for playoffs.
No,
that's a big statement. But the reason is the two teams above them in Group B, Vitality and Splyce, they're also losing games. So there is actually still a chance for Origen to bounce back. Quite a few weeks left, and that Braum skin, that was awesome. When he had the extra movement speed from Homeguard, man, that was cool.
Oh, we get to see that post 20 minutes again. All right, so Origen are actually heavy top side right now. Satorius is scouting it up, but instantly expects going to spot that.
All right, Origen, we talked about them having something unique prepared. I think their strategy is something we've seen before, but it's still unique enough. It counts. Like, go for these globals here. Try and see if you can create some picks around the bottom side. We've all tried to play an AD carry without any mobility against 2 or 3 champions who will just roam to your lane again and again. Very quickly, you die a few times.
It can certainly happen, but you have to set the dive up right.
Yeah, and sadly, I believe almost none of us, and I talk about me and all the viewers, are as good as Zven at playing these low mobility AD carries.
I think that's a safe bet.
I think it's a fairly safe statement I made right there, unless we have a lot of
I've seen you in solo queue.
The best Korean AD carries watching on English right now, which I'm not expecting.
Well, Zven, definitely.
I just offended like Bang and Prey and everything.
Tons and tons of people. That's okay. You just brush it off. Zven is definitely earned his place as one of the top tier AD carries. Especially here in Europe, if not the strongest.
And he's such a good AD carry that he actually leashes for his jungler. It is not often the jungler is starting on bottom side because you don't want your support and AD carry to leash. But when you're not playing these ranged matchups where it's all about getting in lane and instant shoving very, very fast, then you can actually do it. Now there's 2 big tanks against each other. It is not as bad to surrender the first push in a tank v tank support matchup.
It's not something we see all the time, but with so much support-focused
Unless you're against Alistar, I have to say.
Yeah, of course. It really is interesting to see a tank-on-tank matchup down bottom lane, and especially with so much protection between the two of them. I mean, Tahm Kench, if you try to dive, he's going to be able to walk away with Zven in his mouth pretty easily. I mean, OG's have to work it out for him for sure.
Yeah, just kill Tahm Kench, if it is.
Yeah.
When they do go over, because they should have plenty of damage when they do come down.
He's got no great health, it's only level 1.
That's true, that's true. Origen did have a ward on the red buff to see where G2 was starting. Wisdom obviously started topside himself, so that was a very standard start. I want to see what Trick wants to do, seeing as he's starting on the bottom side.
We didn't talk that much about the Kha'Zix.
No, it's true. Fallen down in priority, Pyro.
A little bit, but he's still valuable there. So Mithy swallows up Hiiva for just a second, throws on the Unbreakable, blocks some of the damage, but he's still taken down to half his health bar. Once again, playing the aggressive forward positioning, punishes him this time.
And let's talk about the Kha'Zix here. You wanted to talk about him. You wanted to mention him.
I'm always a fan of Kha'Zix.
Me too. I think he's very fun to watch. However, for professional teams, I think what they've learned now over the weeks is that Kha'Zix is still strong, 100%, but he works even better in scrims than on stage. Because there are more fights in scrims. There's more action. People are playing more aggressive. And Kha'Zix can pick off a lot of targets. On stage, there's a higher chance it becomes a very slow early to mid game. Kha'Zix doesn't really get a kill going for himself, and then it can be difficult to team fight. Iron has kind of taken his spot as the king right now that Rengar is banned still all the time. And then Graves and Rumble, these kind of farming picks has come into the meta. So there are definitely a lot of options now. You don't have to just first pick Kha'Zix every time. And that's why we've seen him kind of fall down a little bit. He's still used, but just not as much. And yeah, there are other picks that is kind of taking that first pick priority.
Yeah, the Varus has definitely been something we've seen just so much of. And you know, for Zven and Mithy is such a dominant bot lane now, they have to feel pretty happy with what they were able to secure for themselves. But I want to see how Tabzz and Hiiva can keep up with them here.
And I want to see if Wisdom wants to gank early. We talked about partying the bot lane. Mithy can just eat Zven and walk out.
All summoners available. Hiiva's going to walk forward. Zven spotted this one, and Wisdom is going to sidestep, but they haven't focused on the same targets, and Tabzz was too far away to get the autos off, so Zven and Mithy actually shrugged that off.
Well, it's actually a good path from Wisdom, because he gets level 4. He's out of potions anyway, so he's going to recall. So you might as well just stop by the bot lane, poke a little bit, get some damage on Zven, and then recall. Because he was going to go back to base no matter what. Why not get a bit of bonus damage? Notice how Origen never like fully committed to anything in case some sort of counter gank could happen. But no, just takes, you know, a little tour around the bottom side.
But they're sniffing it out too. I mean, this is a proactive play. It requires some coordination. It's already a nice start. See if they can pull it off again. NaeHyun spotted Trick inside of his own jungle. He's got a level advantage on the jungler, who will have to take a blast cone out through the Baron pit.
And we might see in a game like this, now that we mentioned the junglers before, that the Graves end up being much more impactful than the Kha'Zix. If nothing really happens in the first 15-20 minutes, Graves is a scaling jungler. He's a strong late game fighter as well, where Kha'Zix can pick people off if it's a very messy team fight, but he tends to jump into it head first, and then if there's 2 or 3 tanks in front of him, there's some exhausts, and then Kha'Zix can't really do what he's supposed to.
Well, we will have to see what Wisdom is able to do. And just take a look at what Mithy had for a score up against H2K. It was definitely a little bit of a crazier game.
Yeah, Mithy tweeted after the game that it was the worst series he's ever played as a professional player. 0-14-18, almost as many deaths as assists. And G2 won that series 2-1. That is the crazy thing. It's not like they got stomped 2-0. They actually won the series. But then the follow-up from this is he's AD carry. Normally when you support dies all the time, your AD carry also falls behind. But Zven actually managed to win on CSD at 10 minutes.
I mean, that's a testament to not just how good Zven is, as we talked about before, but also Mithy kind of made his deaths count. Maybe it was a bit chaotic, but...
Sacrificed himself for the CS.
Yeah, totally worth.
A proper support. It was actually also because G2, while they died in the bot lane, it was often like they would die and then they would get someone low and HK would back away and Zven would just kind of stay and pick up a bit of extra farm. But of course, credit to him for staying relevant. He ended up having a very good series outside of that game too.
That was a really interesting one for sure.
Yeah, game 2 we have to highlight. The bot lane from G2 sucked, like big time. They said in the interview as well, like we lost the game on our own just by losing lane. But game 1 and 3, Zven had a lot of impact in fights.
Well, definitely was a little bit more out of control where G2 try to play a little bit more back in the early game, but this time they are going to be racing up the top, forcing Satorius to back away. They should get that first tower blood. The mini wave, not huge, but they have 3 on it, and they may not need any more. They're actually going to bring Trick to the party as well.
Yeah, and this is such a great play. It looks so simple. They're recalling and they go top lane. The timing of it is fantastic. Time the back so Zven can get TS-rated Dirk. Perfect. And then, if you look at Jhin and Taliyah, they both have ultis. That means if you stay in the bot lane, you're going to get ganked. So they leave, go to the top side, go to the Jhin global, take the first tower because they are ahead in the play. They recall first, they get to top lane with the wave already pushing in. Everything around that play was just perfectly timed by G2.
It's the proactivity. I mean, this is what you expect from a top-tier team, and Origen, they just haven't been able to keep up. They did fire back on turrets, but the gold differential is already there, despite no first blood, 600 gold in the lead.
And it's because we will just never let lane swaps die. They will happen, Pyra. One way or the other, Europe will find a way to swap these lanes around. Not level 1 this time. A little bit later in it. Trade in mid.
NaeHyun finds PerkZ, or was it PerkZ finding him? They do trade pretty even, and it looks like it's Origen that have started on this Ocean Dragon, trying to get a little bit more back for themselves. Ward goes down, courtesy of Expect. They've spotted this on the side of G2, and we could be in for a tussle. Maybe not. Expect looking for something, but the wall blocks off Mithy. Trick and PerkZ are coming in. They can't finish the job as Expect moves forward. Chains of Corruption are on. First blood for Trick. And now Origen are scattered to the winds. Getting them out of there, and that's going to be the first dragon and the first blood over G2's way.
Oh yeah, this is sometimes the answer when a team is swapping on you. When they take your top tower, you take bot tower, and then you try and secure the dragon as well. Origen had it delayed quite a lot. Zven had already returned to bottom side. Mithy had returned to the bottom side as well. Just a really late start on the dragon. And it does deal a lot of damage in the early games. Origen dropped fairly low, and G2 knew they could pick up a fairly easy first blood here. Let's look at it again. So Wisdom has been tanking the Dragon for most of the time, but every member from G2 is on the bottom side, and it's really an easy fight for them to start.
Looks like split focus, to be honest. Satorius comes a little bit too late because even with the Shen shield on, they had melted through Wisdom fairly heavily already. So
yeah, I don't think there's a way for Origen to win the fight, actually.
I mean, I feel like they should have just backed off the moment that they saw Expect going in.
Sadly for them, they hoped they could just burst it down. We have another graphic coming up here, which shows one of the big stories for Origen, how pre-15 minutes, they're actually doing pretty well. The number you see here is obviously the kills and deaths they get. So like for every kill they get pre-15, they also die once. So they're even. They're basically even.
Which is honestly less than what you're seeing from G2 in the very early game.
Exactly. But post 15 minutes, Origen, it just tanks completely. So every time, sadly for them, every time they actually pick up anything, they end up dying way more. That's why it goes under 1, it goes into the negative. So like when they get 1 kill, they die 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
And that is normally not a good sign when it comes to team fights. You enter it, you get 1 guy, they kill 3 or 4 of yours, then you tend to lose.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse in light of that over the Dragon Pit, but you know, that kind of highlights. They're not terrible at laning, they just really don't seem to have a sense of what to do on the map, and when they try for plays, they're not all together. Wisdom getting tagged up by Mithy's tongue. And just checking in on things right now as the Realm Warp comes in. Origen, you know, they're getting shoved around the map already. It's only 10 minutes in.
And it is also very hard for a new team to actually play late game team fight. It's more than just every single guy knowing what to do exactly. It's the communication between them and everything.
Here comes Mithy and
It is difficult. Oh.
They're gonna have to back off. I mean, you talked about globals at the beginning and what Origen can do, but you know, Mithy still has that Abyssal Voyage available to him, and they have a teleport on Expect, so G2 can match some of this global pressure.
Ooh, let's see here. There's TP from both top laners.
Oh, they hop on Tabzz, and Trick just deletes him right now. Even with the blowback, it was just over in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. That was supposed to be Origen kind of baiting. Be like, oh, Trick, come on, get that AD carry. Oh. Graves is in the brush hiding. Trick is like, yeah, I'll get the AD carry. Just one-shot the poor guy. Let's remember that Kha'Zix is so strong. It's not like we've nerfed him or anything right now.
Maybe he should be after that.
Well,
let's see it again.
He does obviously get a few. So the bait.
The exhaust comes too late too.
It backfired. I'm actually not sure if Origen didn't expect Trick to stay around, because Trick was in the brush with the control ward, so they didn't actually see him jump out of the brush very early. Maybe they thought it was just going to be Zven and Mithy taking the 2v2, but Trick was just there. Like, he was just there in the bottom lane.
And he comes right back around and gets himself a second kill. I mean, he has both the kills in this game so far, so a little extra gold in his pocket. He's massively out farming Wisdom on the map and starting to see it pan out in some of the items. That's a whole phage different.
And yeah, Kha'Zix will be fantastic against Origen as well, because you will find these openings. You will find these people split off, and then it kind of sets Trick up to just be the big carry. And you're okay then if you can last pick it. Like, you don't have to sacrifice any pick priority on getting Kha'Zix. If you're G2 in this pick and ban phase, that is perfect. We saw yesterday, teams were trying to ban out junglers against Vitality. 5 junglers were banned. Kha'Zix was not one of those junglers, so Joko just picked it, and he was still able to carry because it's still strong. So some teams are a little bit too quick to kind of throw it away.
Yeah, unfortunately, Origen was one of those teams. Did like the Graves pick, but sometimes it's not the champion, it's the pilot. Map pressure now is in G2's favor as they continue. Just shove out. Mithy turns right around, doesn't want to contest the Raptors too heavily, but Trick's still there.
And we get a potential fight pyro. I was going to say we get Super Soaker Talia in this game. The Hex tech are coming in instead of obviously Rod of Ages or anything. Just get some instant power there and get the slow as well from it. When I've seen this build, it normally then becomes something like Rylai's as well, or Abyssal Scepter, and you're trying to get a more tanky build where you just have you only focus around like sustained damage, consistent sustained DPS, and it has less damage than the normal standard like Morello and so on, but you're just more tankiness. You can kite more. It's pretty difficult to actually like take you down fast, and you're trying to just have this like utility build in a sense while still having decent damage.
But is that really what Origen need right now? I mean, if they have less damage on their mid lane, but they have a lot more utility, they are a little tankier, it seems like they're going to be over-reliant on the AD that they have from Wisdom and from Tabzz.
Yes, but when you have Graves jungle, you do get extra damage coming in there. Yes, it is all physical damage, as you highlight, but I think there is still enough damage on the side of Origen. I just want to see how NaeHyun is in using this build. Like, is he actually going to be able to use the active properly? Is he using it to create catches? That's kind of the thing, because there needs to be a trade-off. Instead of you just going for pure damage, the fact that you are sacrificing something, also depending on what his second item is.
Oh, there's the wall. He's going to be delivering Shen. We're not quite into the fight, but they do get an ultimate out of Hiiva. Glacial Fissure, Expect is tanking it all up, though, and it looks like around the backside, Trick picks up Wisdom without a second thought. Origen are running right now, and it seems like everything is completely backfired. Expect takes down Hiiva. The rest of Origen may not live through it. A double kill for Trick, and it's Satorius all by his lonesome. The tongue lands, the cage, the sapling, everything thrown at him, and that's a 1440 ace.
Well, Pyra, that stat we showed earlier with Origen always able to trade kills for deaths in the early game.
Not true here.
Yeah, that's going to look very different after this game. It's 7-0 for G2, and this Kha'Zix pick, we said it, it's the perfect pick against Origen, because once we get the replay, we're going to see the same thing we've seen before, where they're trying to set up for a team fight. One guy's split off, two guys are split off, and then they just end up getting caught, basically. This time it was Wisdom who just died.
That was rough. Okay, the gold lead is snowballed out of control right now. It is 7,000. It is 7 kills to 0. 15 minutes into the game. This is insane.
It is, however,
G2.
the #1 team in Europe taking on one of the weakest at the moment. So let's look at it. Wisdom, oh, unlucky. NaeHyun is actually the guy who got a trap him on the wrong side.
Unlucky.
And then see, now he's caught. Oh, Wisdom. Poor guy, your mid laner hates you. And then he gets caught and tricked, just picks up a kill with PerkZ. And now, obviously, the fight is over.
This is the problem with walls, is that they push people apart.
They definitely do.
Including your own team.
I wish there was a wall sometimes between you and me, Pyra. No, I don't.
Wow.
Damn.
You still mad about that LCS comment? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well.
It hurt me.
Yeah. Sometimes truth hurts.
It does, yeah.
And the truth of this game right now is that Origen are going to be finding it harder and harder to have a snowball's chance in hell to come back in this one.
It does look
always something
difficult.
you can learn, though.
What can you learn right now?
Don't build that wall.
True. So now for next time, when they play this exact prompt, they know it.
If it happens. I mean, they have a lot of globals, like we talked about in the pick and ban phase, but they're not coordinating anything, and this is the criticism we've had about this team, all split.
It's also, to be fair, in this situation, credit to G2 for that swap to top side, because that ends the laning phase very quickly. And when you have Shen to Leah and you want to dive bot lane, you want a long laning phase. You want more time to sit 2v2 and then to be like, oh, now we push them in, now we dive. That ended when G2 swapped top lane, took a tower, opened up the map, bam, dragon fight right after. More fights.
Chains are on for
Yes,
Hiiva, but
Trick.
the curtain call's open up.
Oh,
Tabzz is going to try to find one more, but Trick comes and interrupts the curtain call. And now it's Wisdom and Hiiva collapse between the rest of G2 and Expect. Picks up Wisdom. They're blowing through the team once again. PerkZ is nowhere to be found, or is he? He's around the other side, and he's looking to hunt down Tabzz.
He's
Won't
warding.
find him there.
Look at that, supportive mid laner. Goes just to ward. What a nice guy. That's the change to PerkZ. He used to only go for the kills. Now it's all about the vision.
And about securing the towers. They should be able to knock another one down easily. They haven't actually taken the one in the bottom, but they found themselves in inner right now. G2 continue to push that dominance, and they're well on track to a nearly perfect game with only one tower lost.
Yeah, lost that one tower. So, Origen, we're trying to set up 1-3-1. Normally you need to use your globals with it, but they were kind of just fighting in mid. I think, yeah, I think they're kind of trying to find random fights, and it obviously backfires very quickly because G2 is just collapsing instantly.
I mean, they have so many tools available to them to continue to do that. And I mean, G2, what do? You talked about high risk, high reward. They have been taking those plays, but you can just see the quality difference in how the two teams played out.
I think Origen has taken the high risk, low reward plays mainly, where it's been like guys kind of trying to chase a kill, more or less like they were chasing Expect in the last fight when then the Talia wall came in. Wisdom died. This one is you run 3-man mid and you start just poking the enemy support under his tower. Like, there really is no high reward there, and it is extremely risky.
Just about everything, as it seems, for Origen on the map. Satorius thought he was safe, but nowhere is safe from the fed Kha'Zix.
So, last pick Kha'Zix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that might be banned next game.
I guess that's the thing. But can you afford to ban it? Because now G2 will get to pick side next game, because it was Origen to pick red side in this one.
It's very true. They have caught Hiiva up, but is it going to be worth? Tabzz gets jumped on by Trick. Once again, he hops over for a double kill, looking for 3, but Wisdom is throwing down the smoke screen.
This is where every other jungler is watching this game, and they're so angry because they're all playing for KDA, and they just see this Trick is getting so far ahead of everyone now, just because he's playing Kha'Zix, and he's able to just pick off Origen 24/7.
Normally we see Origen falling behind at past the 20-minute mark, but this game has been an accelerated pace for sure. Origen have really given up the ghost.
Yeah, I really loved this graphic when we looked at it before the game started, because it was like, they're so even up until 20 minutes, and then everything just crashes normally for Origen, and it drops down to like 7k gold deficits. When you play against a G2 in top form, not the same. We also have to say, it really feels like Origen, after they lost that top tower and then the dragon fight, they've just been like completely lost. And like just look for these really random fights. It's not even like looking for team fights, they've just been looking for picks.
Absolutely. And Origen have punished them without really showing any weaknesses. I mean, this is very good form from them overall. We thought maybe they get a little looser this time around. Maybe they'd make a couple of mistakes, or at the very least go for bigger plays than we've seen them do. But they haven't had to this time around. In 20 minutes, they have been playing it out safely while still getting the counter engages every single time. And it has resulted in this nearly perfect score for them.
Exactly, and we're going to see G2 just keep trying to farm kills as much as possible. Just keep finding these random people being caught out, and then like Trick can get more kills. And this is where you need to, as a support, Pyra, you need to build an item that has some sort of AoE that you can use, so you can get more assists. I actually had the #1 KDA in Europe in Season 3 summer as support, and the trick was have items or champions where it's easy to like heal or speed up the rest of your team just when the fights start, because then you don't need to hit any skill shots, because they will just run in and get a kill, and you're gonna be like, great, I got another assist right there.
You sit in the back just kind of clapping.
Yeah, you just clap, you like play Nami and just press like W on someone.
That was the secret to your LCS career.
That was the secret.
Oh,
and
good to know.
you get a real high KDA, so Mithy now, he needs to step it up. He's lost 3 kills right here. That's gonna cost him.
Yeah.
Where's Redemption? Lock it, something that gives you an AoE utility tool.
Definitely need to see. We're going to be building that a little bit later on. Okay, so Trick is going to take out a pretty free dragon at this point. They haven't really been major contested objectives because of the nature of them this time around, but G2 just continue to own all over the map. Mithy does get caught up. The Chains of Corruption were on. Hiiva, NaeHyun, Satorius, they couldn't finish the job, and PerkZ around the side has found Tabzz, and he makes quick work of him as they turn around once again. Does no damage on the side of Origen, not enough to finish anything off, and Trick just says, forget it, let's take the Baron, we've got the team down already.
Well, they're gonna take a lot of damage from this, because I expect has to walk around.
It's a slow start, but they'll be able to get it. There's no one to contest. It's only Satorius. He's backing away. G2, they just make this look too easy, man.
I think it is too easy, Pyra, for G2 right now. 15-0, 22 minutes into the game. Must be the biggest goal lead we've seen, because I think actually the biggest goal lead came yesterday, and that was 10K at 20 minutes. G2 is, for sure, I have to actually, what a 10K ahead at 20 minutes? Or was it from this fight and then Baron?
I mean, it's definitely up there if it's not the top one for sure, but I mean, this looked like they could get a catch off. The problem is, every single time, Origen are catching somebody who can tank it up for days, and they're so far behind, they just don't have damage. Mithy lives through this because Trick just stomps on top of Wisdom.
I mean, at this point, we can't really talk about a whole lot that Origen is doing. I don't think it's worth it to sit and like criticize anything specifically, because the game is already lost some time ago.
I mean, what can you do from this? Like, you got to think about next game, but like, what can they even take from this game?
I mean, I think for it's always that question that's like, it's so hard to answer, because you want to say coming into the series, you want to learn. You want to learn from one of the best. You want to play against G2, and then you want to try and see what they're doing, and maybe you can pick, you can see some stuff and you can use it yourself later. But there's just such a big difference in skill that it's hard to say what Origen can really do. Maybe the trick is play super standard next game and just try and play super slow game. Don't go for any fights, but that would be the opposite of what Origen has done all split long. And then try and see if G2 can punish you macro-wise and you can learn from that. But again, I'm grasping at straws here, as you can hear.
Well, I think Origen are grasping at straws as well, and maybe that's the solution for them to try and play a different style. But as it stands, the game will just keep playing out this way. Continually pushing in on 3 lanes right now. G2 are just looking to close this one out. They got the noose around Origen's neck for game number 1, and they just need to pull it. Little resistance you can offer. I want to see what they change up in comps for game number 2. See if they can maybe play a little more controlled, see if their communication can improve. But, you know, as we said in the pick ban, this is not necessarily the team you need to win against because it is the best team in Europe, or at least tied with the Unicorns for that. And even though they're going to try to make these big plays, let's see if they can at least get somebody down. Mithy chunked through, but the shields are just too big, and Expect is coming around the side. Trick is having a ball. He hops on one. They jump on two. Satorius gets melted. Even Hiiva's running the wrong way right now. A double kill for Trick, and that's going to be lights out. 20 kills to 0, and it's an ace.
Oh my god, G2. They enjoyed this game for sure.
I think they were having fun.
Have they any ways they can actually push this turret without waiting for these minions? No, they can't really tank it yet. Well, you don't really care. You got minions. Oh, I Expect's trying.
They got enough time. Expect is tanky enough.
He can just W the
the
minion anyway and reset aggro. So
all right. So G2, they're making short work of Origen here. Just sub 25 minutes. They will take the base. They already had the ace, and that's going to be game number 1 in their favor.
Yeah.
GG.
We talked about this coming into the series. It is the Kings of Europe against the weakest team in Europe right now on paper. There wasn't really much to talk about when it came to like